A boy in a box found murdered on the side of a road in an area where people frequently hunt. Have you ever heard of America's unknown child, the boy in the box? Welcome to Peculiar Occurrences. I am your host, Lilith Nova. The boy in a box is a name given to an unknown murder victim who was 3 to 7 years old. His naked, battered body was found in a cardboard box in the Fox Chase section of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, on February 25th, 1957. He is also commonly known as America's unknown child. His identity has never been discovered, and this case remains open. In February 1957, the boy's body, wrapped in a plaid blanket, was found in the woods off the side of the road. The boy's body was inside of a cardboard box that seemed to once house or box a bassinet. The boy's hair had recently been chopped off, possibly sometime after death, as clumps of hair did cling to the boy's body. There were signs of severe malnourishment, as well as surgical scars on the ankle and groin, and an L-shaped scar under the chin. The body was first discovered by a young man who was checking his muskrat traps. Fearing that the police would confiscate his traps, he did not report what he had found. A few days later, a college student spotted a rabbit running into the underbrush. Knowing that there was traps in the area, the boy stopped to investigate. This is when he found the body. He too was reluctant to have any contact with the police, but he did end up reporting his find the following day. The police received the report and opened up the investigation on February 26, 1957. The dead boy's fingerprints were taken, and the police at first were optimistic that he would soon be identified. Yet no one ever came forward with any useful information. This case attracted massive media attention in Philadelphia and Delaware Valley. The Philadelphia Inquirer passed out 400,000 flyers that depicted the boy's likeness. These flyers flooded the area and was even included with every gas bill in Philadelphia. The crime scene was combed over and over and over again by 270 police academy students, who ended up discovering a child's blue corduroy cap, a child's scarf, and handkerchief. All clues that led nowhere. The police even went as far as to distribute a post-mortem picture of the boy in a sitting position, fully dressed, trying to show people what he may have looked like when he was alive, in hopes that it may lead to a clue. Despite the massive publicity and attention this case got, even landing a spot on Unsolved Mysteries, this case still goes unsolved to this very day. On March 21st, 2016, the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children released a facial reconstruction picture of the boy and added him to their national database. The boy in the box was originally buried in Potter's Field, but in 1998 his body was exhumed to extract DNA from a tooth. He was reburied in Ivy Hill Cemetery in Cedar Brook, Philadelphia, which had donated a very large plot. The grave has a large headstone bearing the words, "America's Unknown Child." City residents even keep the grave decorated with flowers and stuffed animals. Now let's go through a few theories about this case. and learn quite a bit more. Many theories have gone through the police department. Most have been dismissed, though there are one or two that the police believe could be possible. First is, he was drowned. Bristow, a man that studied the case for the remainder of his life, originally thought the boy could have been drowned after falling into a lake, despite him having multiple head injuries. This was because the bottom of the boy's feet and one of his hands was wrinkled as if he had been in water for an extended period of time. Investigators were unable to tell if the boy had been submerged in water before or after death, but they were able to conclude that he had died from several blows to the head and not drowning, starved to death. In addition to finding evidence that the boy in the box had been underwater, they found that he had greatly suffered long before his death, with him being greatly malnourished. With the help of x-rays, doctors determined that he was between the ages of 3 to 7 years old, but weighed only 30 pounds. According to examiners, the boy in the box had the body of a 2-year-old. And the x-rays showed evidence of delayed growth. The child's body was covered in bruises, and his lips were dry and bloody. As well, his ribs were showing through his skin. They also found evidence that the child may have had an eye infection that was treated with medication prior to his death. Due to the very cold weather at the time in Philadelphia, the medical examiner was unable to pinpoint the exact time of death, saying death could have happened days to weeks before he was discovered. They also found that there was clumps of hair stuck all over his body, as if his hair had been cut while in a bathtub. One of the major theories was the foster home theory. This theory concerns a foster home that was approximately 1.5 miles away from the site where the body was found. In 1960, Remington Bristow, an employee of the medical examiner's office, one that I sort of mentioned before, the one I said pursued the case until his death in 1993, he contacted a New Jersey psychic who told him to look for a house that matched the foster home. When the psychic was brought to Philadelphia to the spot where the boy had been found, she led them directly to the foster home. Remington decided to attend an estate sale at the foster home. Remington found a bassinet that would have been similar to the one that would have came in the box that the boy was found in. He also found blankets on the line outside that were similar to the one that he was wrapped in. Remington believed that the boy could have been the son of the stepdaughter of the man who ran the foster home, and that they had disposed of the body so that the girl would not have been exposed as an unwed mother. He theorized that the boy's death may have been an accident too. Despite the circumstantial evidence, the police were unable to find a link between the boy in the box and the foster home. In 1998, a police lieutenant named Tom Augustine, who was in charge of the investigation, along with several members of a group of retired policemen and profilers, interviewed the foster father and his stepdaughter, who at this time the foster father had married. Yeah, I know, right? I'd be wanting to pin something on him too if I was this cop. That's sick. Just sick. The interview along with the DNA test showed that the stepdaughter was not the boy's mother and that the family in no way was involved with the murder. Next theory is that he could have been the son of a carnival worker. In 1961, Philadelphia investigators questioned Kenneth Dudley and his wife Irene Dudley to determine if the boy in the box had been one of the couple's 10 children. Mr. Dudley was a carnival worker, so the family constantly traveled up and down the East Coast as he looked for work. The The Dudleys came to the police's attention after one of their children passed away of malnutrition and neglect. Instead of buying their young child a cemetery plot, they just wrapped her in a blanket and placed her corpse in a wooded area in Virginia. Eventually, the authorities learned that 7 of the Dudleys' 10 children had died of malnutrition and neglect, and that none of them had received proper burials, causing Philadelphia investigators to think that the boy in the box could have been one of their sons, and I can see why. However, after questioning the Dudleys and investigating all their movements in 1957, the investigators determined that the boy in the box was not one of their children, though they were very neglectful parents. Now, our next theory, and the one thought that it could be the real thing that happened, is the woman known as Elm. Now, this theory was brought forward in February of 2002 by a woman identified as only the letter Elm, but the police believed that Elm's story was very plausible, but she could not be considered credible due to a history of mental illness. Elm claimed that her abusive mother had purchased the unknown boy, whose name was Jonathan, from his birth parents in the summer of 1954. She claimed that while in her mother's care, the boy was subject to extreme physical and sexual abuse for 2.5 years. And then that one night at dinner, the boy had vomited up his baked beans and was given a severe beating, in which his head slammed against the floor until he was semi-conscious. He was then given a bath, and at this time is when he supposedly died. These details matched information known only to police, as the coroner had found that his stomach did in fact contain baked beans, and his hands and feet again were wrinkled. Elm's mother then cut the boy's distinctive long hair, accounting for the boy's unprofessional haircut that was noted in their initial investigation. In efforts to conceal his identity, Elm's mother then forced Elm to help her dump the boy's body in the Fox Chase area. Elm then went on to say that as they were trying to remove the boy's body from the trunk, that a male passing motorist pulled over on the side of the road to see if they needed any help. Elm was ordered to stand in front of the license plate while her mother went off to talk to the good doer and tried to shoo him away and convince him they did not need any help. The man eventually drove away, and this story collaborated with testimony from a male witness in 1957. In spite of the outward plausibility of Elm's story, police were unable to verify her story. Neighbors who had access to Elm's house at the time denied there had ever been a young boy living there, and dismissed Elm's claims as ridiculous. What exactly happened to this young boy? We may never know, but the case itself is certainly peculiar. Know what you think about this peculiar occurrence down in the comments below. Have you ever heard of the boy in the box? Do you believe any of the theories? Let me know. I really want to know. And if you want to see me do more content like this, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit that little bell button so you know when I upload. As well, while you're down there, check my description box for your Peculiar Occurrence merch. And until next time, keep your eyes peeled for all things peculiar.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.